What's up, everybody? Mekel Kasanova here, back with another episode of DeckedUP, a gaming and tech podcast. And the thing I want to talk about today is it's something that's been on my mind lately, and it comes from just maybe this is a societal issue, but I want to talk about the fact that people are more obsessed with what's wrong and what's quote unquote greedy when it comes to gaming and just entertainment in general versus actually being able to sit and enjoy something. We're going to dive into that and a lot more in this episode of Decked Up, a gaming and tech podcast. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, welcome back to another episode of Decked Up, a gaming and tech podcast. Again, I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. And as I said in the opening, I want to talk about the problem with modern day when it comes to gaming culture and just entertainment in general. Because I'm noticing this where people are at this point where they're having less and less fun. And I can take the headset off. I don't really need this on. But people are having less and less fun when it comes to entertainment. And I'm noticing this. I'll take my glasses off. I don't really need them either. But I'm noticing that people spend more time upset and complaining about things than they do actually ever enjoying anything. Like, for instance, the Switch 2 has come out, and I've seen it's been over a month since it's come out. We're heading into the territory of it being 2 months at the time of this recording since it's come out. And so many people are spending so much time just being absolutely upset about it. Like they're finding all kinds of ways to be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is overpriced. Nintendo's greedy, blah, 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 like all this different things. And I did a podcast recently where I talked about the fact that these companies aren't your friend. And to think that these companies owe you anything is absolutely ridiculous. Like I got a lot of people that were coming at me saying that, oh, you're defending this greedy billion-dollar company. And the thing is, like, I'm not defending that. It's just common knowledge. Like, what company owes you anything? We're and this can go into the whole people being like, oh, well, it's a capitalistic society. Okay, tell me another method that actually works in society. Oh, you want to go with communism? How well did that work out? Right? Socialism. How well does that work out? It doesn't work out. Capitalism has its flaws, but it's a system that absolutely works. I'm not trying to go down a societal or political topic or rabbit hole. I know a lot of people are probably going to think, oh, yeah, you're defending these companies. No, I'm not. I'm just being completely honest about things that, it is what it is. Every company is for profit. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that these companies are for profit. They have to be. They have to be for profit because that's the whole thing. You think McDonald's cares about you? No. Because if they did, they wouldn't have gotten rid of the dollar menu. I remember when you used to be able to get, like a McDouble or a McChicken or a spicy McChicken and a drink all for like $1. Like not together collectively, but each individually was like $1. Then they got rid of it. Then you had the $5 meal deal and the $6 meal deal. Those are gone. So it's just one of those things where companies do what they need to do based on the current landscape of what they need to put out to continue making revenue. And once certain models are not beneficial to them, they move on. It's the same thing with Nintendo. And I've tried to explain from a technical aspect with what is in the Nintendo Switch 2. The fact that it has, they worked with NVIDIA to develop it. This is one of the few, if not only, consoles that's actually made with NVIDIA in mind. But the Switch 1 had the NVIDIA Tegra 1 custom chip, whereas this one has another custom chip that allows it to use DLSS. Only console that's doing that. Almost everything else is utilizing AMD architecture instead of NVIDIA architecture. The PlayStation, the Xbox, those are NVIDIA, well, not NVIDIA, those are AMD based consoles. Like a lot of these handheld gaming PCs are AMD. How many are NVIDIA focused? Switch right now, Switch 2 is the only one. And so to incorporate DLSS, to incorporate VRR, to incorporate a 1080p screen that can do up to 120 hertz, and also dock it to go 4K at 60, and also allow HDR, and also allow all this other stuff when docked, right? Also utilizing, if you have the Nintendo Switch camera and you're utilizing this right here with your Switch too, and also utilizing it, um, with whatever, however you want to do it. The fact that it can do the background cutouts and also utilize noise suppressions are NVIDIA broadcast features, which if you have a PC that has an NVIDIA graphics card, you can utilize the NVIDIA broadcast functionality. That's what I'm using right now. NVIDIA broadcast. I'm using that for the bokeh effect. I'm also, which is the blur effect for those who don't know what bokeh is for this noise suppression, because I'm sitting next to an air conditioner. I got my kid right over here watching TV. Got my dog and my cats running around. So it's one of those things where the technology that is incorporated within this is not going to be cheap. And when I was trying to explain that, and people were like, "Oh, you're defending them. They should have dropped it at less than $500. Should have been less than 400." For you to say that means that you're ignorant of how much this technology costs. And yes, technology gets less and lesser as time goes on, but at the same time, when you're packing it full of this functionality, things that the Steam Deck doesn't have and a lot of these handheld gaming PCs do not have, it's going to come at a bit of a premium. Okay. This is how it is. And people don't seem to understand that. So I've tried to explain that. And like I said, I got a lot of pushback on it. And what it really showcased to me was that people nowadays want to spend more time, let's just be honest, bitching, whining, complaining, pissing, and moaning about things that, for the most part, don't impact them. It really doesn't. If you want to have fun playing a game, there's a plethora of options available. People have this complaint right now with Switch games. There's and again, this goes back to the narratives where people are saying, "Oh, all Switch games are, you know, they're all going to be $80 physically, $90 digitally," which that, or actually, what was it, $80 digitally, $90 physically, and then that got debunked, right? Nintendo is charging more of a premium for their first party titles, and you can feel how you feel about that. But as I have stated before, and I've stated for years, complaining on social media is such a bubble, right? It allows people to feel like their opinions, and this equates to me and you watching, you listening. It gives us this idea that our opinion matters. And ultimately, to an extent, it does, but also it doesn't at the same time. There's a lot of people that utilize it, and I think this is also part of the issue with society now, is that so many people are utilizing social media to complain and be loud and vocal. And you have a lot of the fringe people on fringe both sides of the spectrum that feel like I have to grandstand and present a certain way on social media, because it's about presenting. It's not about being completely honest. It's about presenting themselves as a champion of this or holier than thou, when in reality they don't really care about these things. All the people that were saying Switch 2 was going to fail, it's not going to be successful, people aren't going to buy it. What happened? People bought it. People bought the Switch 2. It's the most successful console launch of all time. Sales aren't slowing down. People are going out of their way. The same influencers and YouTubers that said that they're not going to purchase it and they're not going to support it, screw Nintendo, are the same ones that went out and bought it. And I'm trying to tell you guys, I've been trying to let you guys in on this game. A lot of content creators, they will do anything for clicks. They'll do anything, and you should know this by now. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of their opinions come from these influencers. Like they follow this hive mind mentality, which is absolutely, to me, sad that they do that. I really wish people would take the time to figure out for themselves what their own beliefs and values are versus just regurgitating. And I see so much of this with the anti-Nintendo narrative, which I've said there's and it's not just an anti-Nintendo narrative. There's an anti-Xbox narrative and a pro-PlayStation narrative that is going on with media, with content creators, and also with gamers at this point. And it's sad because with Nintendo, the anti-Nintendo narrative is just because people want Mario on other platforms. They want Nintendo to fail because they want a pro-PlayStation experience. And I'm sorry, do you guys want Last of Us Part 2 or this same fundamental PlayStation experience with almost every game, the over the shoulder third person type of experience, or do you want diversity? Nintendo gives you that diversity. Nintendo also focuses on fun, and Nintendo is focused primarily on children and young people before they are adults. So, like when I see people lose their minds over Pokemon, which is primarily grown people, when I see people lose their minds over Mario Kart, saying Mario Kart World isn't great because it's lesser than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That tells me that, specifically when it comes to Mario Kart, that your experience with playing Mario Kart games is probably limited to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was very different than every other Mario Kart that came before it, with the anti gravity functionalities and stuff like that, because that's really pulling from, in a way, F Zero, but also it pulls from Sonic All-Star Racing Transform, right? Like it pulled a lot of functionality from that. So if you've played Mario Kart from, Super Mario Kart, the first one that came out on the Super Nintendo, or if you played Mario Kart 64, Double Dash, which was very different than the previous two, or Advanced, or any of the other ones that came before Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 was very, very, very different. And to judge Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart World to Mario Kart 8, saying that it's lesser, it's just going back to its fundamentals. But it's basically Forza Horizon with Mario Kart, if you really want to be completely honest, which is something that I said that it was. So we've just gotten to a point, like I said, so many people now are just more fixated on being upset than actually enjoying things. And for me personally, I know I've been slowing down with content, and I'm putting this out there because this is honestly just where I've been, where I'm spending more time actually playing games and enjoying them than being on social media to be part of the internet discourse. Now, if I went an anti-Nintendo rant or stance on social media or on YouTube or whatever like that, I would get a lot of traction. If I went anti-Xbox, which so many people keep saying, oh, the death of Xbox, Actman, some ordinary gamers, all these other people that are pushing this narrative, when the reality is Microsoft is more profitable now. Xbox is a brand. It's more profitable. When you're saying the death of Xbox, there should be a level of intellectual honesty of what you're actually trying to say. And that is Xbox as you knew it, as you grew up with it, is no longer here. Xbox has been going to the model that they are now. I've explained this so many times, where Xbox is essentially following the Microsoft Office route, where it's a service more so than it is a product that, it's, you single purchase and that's it. As someone who used to work for Microsoft, I know my brother, Cameron, and I, we talked about this all the time. Like, we've done a couple podcasts trying to explain this to people, and folks don't get this, but that is a model that Xbox has been going at, and they are quite successful at it right now. Like, I don't really know how to tell you, but Xbox Game Pass is successful with them saying, this is Xbox, like a MetaQuest 3S Xbox edition is an Xbox. The ROG Ally Xbox is an Xbox. Being able to take your phone, like, my S23 Ultra or S25 Ultra, actually, that, or my iPhone 16 Pro, connecting that to showcase it for you guys. Being able to take it and connect it to something like this and pretty much say, this is an Xbox. Because essentially, they want you to be able to play their titles no matter what you are on. And it being a subscription service guarantees that you're going to sign up. So yeah, you can buy a dedicated hardware, which is the Xbox Series X or S, which are both great values if you get Game Pass and you've got a plethora of games, or if you've got digital games from the series or the one or the X, or not the one, no, the X, but the 360 or even original Xbox, and you want to play them, then you can. Not everything, but majority of things you can. So there's value that you're being given, but people don't want to look at it like this. And I feel like this is where a lot of people, again, the intellectual dishonesty is very much apparent. And the fact that people don't want to accept change. A lot of us that grew up with gaming is not what it used to be, where you could literally take a cartridge, just pop it in your console, or take a disc and put it in your console, and that's it. You don't need to worry about updates and day one DLC patches or day one patches, DLC practices, or anything like that. It is a different time, a different era that we are in, and people don't seem to want to accept that. I get it, but this is just the way things are. It's the same thing with how we consume content, how we consume media. Like, we don't just go to newspapers anymore. We don't just watch the news. A lot of people do. Typically, I see it every time I go to the gym or go to the airport or a restaurant. The news is always playing, but people consume media differently. The mainstream media, the mainstream itself is dead compared to alternative media. Social media has really done a number on society, but also on legacy media. And so, because things change as time goes on, a lot of people are creatures of habit where they don't want to accept the change that is happening. And I understand the difficulty with doing that, but times change. I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 in a few months. And as someone who enjoys or used to enjoy movies and TV shows, and someone who's a gamer who enjoys video games, also someone who enjoys music and art, everything has changed from when I was 30, my teens, when I was a teenager, and when I was a kid. Everything is different, and things will continue to progressively get different. And I accept that. And I'm not saying that I'm just accepting it for what it is and I just give up. No, I accept that change is inevitable. And that's the thing that people fail to understand, is that change is inevitable. There's nothing that you can do to effectively stop change or stop progress. It just is what it is. If things didn't change, then they would just stay the same. We would stay in stagnation. Right now, we're seeing the advent of AI, which, was, a lot of people say AI is new. No, ever since you've been able to use autocorrect or predictive text or anything like that, that is AI. We've had AI in video games for 50 something years. AI is not new, but to the extent that it's able to create lifelike pictures and videos and all the stuff that's going on that used to, even music. I know people that are AI music artists, and it is something that is inevitable. It got dropped on us in 2021, open source to the public with Chat GPT, which wasn't easy to use before. You had to download it. Now it's in our service, and now everything uses AI. It is just, with the times, things change. The fact that people can now utilize social media to become overnight successes, right? Whereas before you had to go to Hollywood and become famous that way. Now people can be famous doing anything. And this is just what I'm saying, where things change. And I don't always agree with everything that's changing, but I also understand that to effectively, if you want to impact these companies with things that you don't like, you need to, where is it? I think I have it right here. Vote with your wallet. Stop supporting these companies. If you don't like Nintendo charging $80 for their first party titles, then don't buy them. That sends a stronger message and hits their bottom line when you don't buy versus buying. People that don't like digital media, that prefer physical media. Well, we've been in this era of things as being digital focused for like 15, 18 years, and people continue to buy digital more than they're buying physical. And if you want physical to stay around, stop buying digital as much. But people still, and that's the thing, is you could make the argument, yes, we've been trained to buy digital, which, yes, we have. You know, you can make the argument, oh, I don't own things, which you would be completely truthful in many ways. A lot of things you do not own. But if you want to affect these companies' bottom lines, you need to stop supporting the thing you don't like. And that's all it is to it. This is not me defending companies. And it's amazing. We're in a time where everything is available at our fingertips. We have instant access to each other, to the world, to just literally everything. But people spend more time complaining than they do actually utilizing the technology that's available to them for their own betterment. Crash out culture, outrage culture, clickbaiting is the thing. People, and this goes back to my original point, where people, especially within gaming and entertainment, spend more time arguing and being upset than actually enjoying something. I don't care about playing the social media game, which is engagement farming, clickbaiting, putting out false information. Look, I have a background in journalism, and everything that I see influencers do and media outlets do is stuff that I was taught in journalism. How to create sensationalized headlines to get people to buy your newspaper, your newsletter, to sign up for whatever. I understand the game, but I don't feel like playing it because I'm not playing it. I'm not reaching certain levels of exposure and success that many others are. But for me, at 36, with a family and with a life outside of social media, outside of this podcast, outside of everything I do content and career wise, I don't find there being a lot of importance or value in sitting around and complaining all day, being perpetually upset. And I was having this conversation with my friend Amanda quite a lot recently because she's actually hit the same point that I have of just not having the desire to be on these platforms when it comes to social media because people this outrage culture, this perpetual just anger and vitriol. People don't understand the toll that takes on you physically when it comes to your health. When you're always emotionally upset, when you're always having this vitriolic reaction to whatever you see. One, there's an addiction to that. Two, it's a dopamine hit. And three, it destroys it impacts your cortisol, which lowers your immune system. You have people that are having heart attacks and strokes and generally just so many different ailments that come from them being addicted to negativity and chaos. And a lot of things you look at, and I'm over here like, this is not that important. Why are you so fixated on this? And I'm told that, and I say this with politics, with social issues, with gaming, with entertainment, you have to pick and choose what is important. If you can do something to positively impact something, then do it. But when you cannot, I don't see a point from a mental health aspect or from a physical aspect to invest all your energy into this when you cannot impact change. And this isn't to say not to care. This is to say to be selective in what you do and do not care about. I can't go around just being angry at everything because then my immune system, my health, and I'm saying this is someone who's had cancer twice. You can't. It's not good for you. It's not healthy. And I see these people so angry at Nintendo, so vitriolic about this or that. And I'm just like, brother, sister, it is not that important. If you want to impact these companies, again, vote with your wallet. Stop supporting digital or physically to impact their bottom line. But on the same token, if you don't care about something, if you don't want to buy something, if something isn't of like, and I see this in wrestling too, the AEW versus WWE or the dub versus the fed, all, people in these bubbles and these hive mind mentalities. If you don't like WWE, don't talk about it. Don't watch it. Just move on. Enjoy AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling or whatever. I don't understand when you have nothing to contribute to a topic or a conversation, why involve yourself other than to be in an echo chamber or bubble or a hive mind? And I'm noticing that people nowadays really struggle with individual thought, individual opinion. They're very collectivistic. They whatever the collective is saying, I'm gonna say. And really a lot of this just comes around to people feeling like they need to be involved rather than actually having something to say. It's weird. It's very weird to me. I don't understand people these days. I don't understand this obsession with being angry. It's not for me. It's just not for me personally. I haven't, I've had people say, how come you haven't done a review of the Switch 2? How come you haven't reviewed these games to Switch 2? How come you're not really doing a lot of stuff? And it's not that I'm not making reviews. I'm just not focusing on things that, the narrative that's out there. When I've said this before, if you were covering the Switch 2 from when it launched to now, there's a point where people were attacking you and saying it wasn't worth it and all this other stuff. And it's just weird to me because I'm like, if you don't care about it, why are you talking about it? If you're not adding something to the conversation, why are you, and it's just this parasitic parasocial need for people to feel like they belong to something. And I think because we're constantly hit with information constantly, social media or whatever, it's just a constant influx. Boom, boom, boom. People feel like they need to say something to be involved. There's this longing for connection to a group that people have. It's a weird and interesting psychological phenomenon that we're going through right now. But this need for people to belong to something is so strong. It's stronger now than I feel like it's ever really been strong. And it's very interesting seeing how people are. I'm just like, I don't know what else to say. Like, people are just doing what they're doing, and I'm like, okay, if that works for you, go for it. But I've really gotten to a point where, like, I just like to enjoy stuff in my own time. I don't care to, like, if I like something, I'll share it. If I don't, I just move on from it. I opt to not deal with it. This hyperfixation on I gotta share my opinion because people need to know what I think. People care about what I think, and like I said, people for the most part don't. They don't care what you think. They don't care what you say. They don't care what your values are. But we're in a time where people are performative, which is interesting to see. I've seen so many people that, when I was coming up, people enjoyed gaming to where now people spend more time talking about what they don't like about gaming than actually gaming. It's like that, oh, this person is a massive Earthbound fan, and then they're playing it for the first time, or a Silent Hill 2 fan, or Silent Hill fan play Silent Hill for the first time. People are more voyeuristic now than ever, and it's weird. It's just weird to me. I wish people would just form their own opinions based on their own experiences and go from there. But I don't know, maybe that's asking too much. But with that being said, though, that's this episode. I just really wanted to talk about how it's just sad in many ways. People are spending more time on things they don't enjoy than things that they do. And I don't know. I don't know. Find things you enjoy and focus on that is the best thing that I can say. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. Talk about it. If you don't enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with saying what you dislike about it and being critical. Like when it comes to Nintendo, there are a number of things you can criticize Nintendo for, but trying to create these fake narratives or just basing your opinion off of Digital Foundry, which a lot of people do, or whatever influencer that they enjoy and they're hype. I mean, I say this with the FGC all the time. Maximilian says something or Punk says something, they're cultish about it. Dave Meltzer says anything about wrestling or WWE, people are cultish about it. And it's weird, this cult like behavior, how people are now, this obsession, just basically making idols and gods out of things they shouldn't. This is the norm. Be critical. And like I said, Nintendo has things you can be critical of. The fact that they are still behind with not having achievements of any kind natively to their platform. The fact that we still have to go by friend codes instead of like other ways of connecting with people. Their online store being as backwards as it is, even to this day. Like I said, there are things that people can legitimately be critical of Nintendo of, but they're not. Yeah. But that's my thoughts. If you agree with me, cool. If you don't, that's fine. It doesn't impact me. I'm just a guy talking into the mic and sharing this with people the world over. And if people resonate with it, cool. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. With that being said, people, this is episode Decked Up, Gaming and Tech Podcast. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. And we hope have a great rest of your day. And go out and enjoy something. See you next time.